All My American Girl Dolls by Carrie, an American girl in Mexico. Made by an adult for other adults. Remember to be kind. We talk about contents, not people. Hi, this is Carrie. Welcome to my channel. The first American Girl doll I'd like to introduce is Alessia, a custom doll from Dis Blaine. Alessia is a customized doll from Truly Me number 119, which is a Nanea mold doll with light skin, blue eyes, and originally had blue hair. Blaine replaced her wig with a long, straight brown one, and he pierced her ears. I approve. I think she's beautiful, and I'm thrilled to own one of his dolls. Alessia came dressed, as you see her here, in the celebratory chic outfit, which, as of this recording, is still available from American Girl. Blaine added her knee socks and the pearl earrings. My Kitteridge doll came from eBay and has a plump body, so I know she is older than some. In my collection, Kit is a bit of a time traveler, mostly staying her 1934 self, but joining my modern girls when I need her to for whatever vignette I'm assembling. I'm working on concepts and patterns now so she can be Luke Skywalker on May the 4th, so you can stay tuned for that in the spring. I own two Kaya dolls. Kaya Anton Mi, usually known as Kaya, is one of the historical American Girl characters who live in eras and locations that aren't yet part of the United States of America. The other character would be Josefina. Set in 1764, Kaya's people haven't yet been visited by people of European descent. Horses have bred in the wild since Coronado's 1540 explorations across what is now Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona. And Kaya's people seem to have had horses for about 60 years, and I base that on the story her grandma tells. In her final book, Kaya trades for a glass bead, almost certainly coming from New Spain, which included what is now Texas and New Mexico. I own two Kaya dolls because one of them is her younger sister and best friend, Speaking Rain. I'm currently working on a video about Speaking Rain and the three outfits that I made to tell her story. So you can stay tuned for that video as well. It's 1854 and Josefina Montoya is living in the newly constituted First Federal Republic of Mexico, which gained its independence from New Spain after 300 years of Spanish oversight. It will be another 22 years before the land Josefina lives on comes under the control of the United States of America. Local Spanish government has been located in Santa Fe since 1610. So keep this in mind in terms of the American history you've been taught as you interact with Josefina and her stories. In my collection, Josefina is a time traveler like Kit. She mostly lives on her own timeline, but also joins my modern girls when I need her to. Recently, 5 of my modern girls traveled back to her timeline to highlight the colors of Mexico's ethnic and genetic diversity. So you could look for that Colors of Mexico video on my channel. My last American Girl doll is Street Chic number 92, and her name is Indiga Montoya. I released a separate video about her and how she got her name, which I will simply append here. So if you've already watched that video, you can stop here, and I'll see you next time. Otherwise, here's her story. Some of you know that this girl, Street Chic number 92, is Indiga Montoya in my collection. I've promised you the story of how she got her name, so today I will tell you that story. Let me start by saying that The Princess Bride, made in 1987, is the best family movie ever made. 3 generations of my family love that movie, and probably the most famous quote from that movie is, "Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die." So, as I prepared to move to Mexico a little over a year ago, several of my dolls got rehomed with 2 of my granddaughters. My dog had to go live temporarily with my son until she could be brought down separately. And all of my things got packed in a trailer and sent off to Mexico about 3 weeks before I was actually going to follow. So this means I'm living out of a suitcase in an empty apartment with none of the things that normally provide me a sense of comfort or home around me. So enter this little girly in Facebook Marketplace. And so she came to keep me company during those last few weeks while I was still there finishing up some business before I could move to Mexico. I knew kind of from the start that even though she has this blue and a little bit of purple in her hair, that I wanted her to be part of Josefina's story. So in my head, her last name was going to be Montoya. But as I thought about Josefina's story, none of the names in that story really felt like they were right for her. So I got on the group chat that I have with my son and granddaughters and said, "Hey, I need some help here. I have this new little girl to keep me company until I actually move to Mexico, and I need a name for her, and somehow Truly Me number 92 just isn't doing it for me." Sorry, I do have some notes here. So what followed was a very fun and lively discussion on that chat with my son and 2 of my granddaughters. The 3rd granddaughter doesn't really care about dolls. But anyway, so this lively discussion with my son and 2 of my granddaughters of what we might name this girly. And part of that revolved around the name, around the idea that maybe we could incorporate the blue, the fact that she has blue in her hair, somehow into her name. And so we were talking about synonyms for blue or words related to blue or those kinds of things. And somewhere in there, I mentioned that her last name was Montoya. And immediately my son says, "Well, then her name has to be Indigo," which isn't exactly the name of the man in the movie. It's Inigo, but Indigo, since we were talking about blue. Indigo. And he quotes the line from Princess Bride. And of course, once he says that, it's obvious that's a great choice of a name for this girl. But in Spanish, male names end in O and female names end in A. So she couldn't be Indigo Montoya. She had to be Indiga Montoya. And so she is Indiga Montoya. No one killed her father. No one has to die. But that is how she got her name and became part of my collection. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.